Greetings, fellow Whovians. I'm so glad to be back doing Doctor Who reviews for you. Now, I'm going to switch things up a little bit with my reviews just to get that out of the way first, okay? So for the episodes of the classic era, I'm going to say as to whether or not I recommend them to fans of New Who, and for episodes of New Who, I'll say whether or not I recommend those episodes to fans of classic Doctor Who, okay? Good, so now we got that out of the way, let's get it going. So, last we left off, Susan left the TARDIS in the Dalek invasion of Earth, okay? But now, we're going to take a look at the introduction of the new companion, Vicki, in the episode The Rescue. So, let's get to going. Alright. The Doctor, Ian, and Barbara are still missing the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan, when the TARDIS lands on a planet the Doctor eventually recognizes as Dido, a world he has visited before. The trio soon encounter two survivors of a space crash, Vicki and Bennett, who are awaiting a rescue ship that is due to arrive in 3 days' time. Vicki and Bennett live in fear of Cuquilian, a bipedal inhabitant of Dido who is stalking the area. Cuquilian encounters the time travelers and attacks, pushing Barbara over a cliff and then temporarily trapping Ian and the Doctor. Vicki finds Barbara injured and rescues her from Cuquilian, and they share reminiscences. Vicki's father was amongst those who died when the survivors of the crash, save Bennett and Vicki, were lured to their deaths by the natives of Dido. She is evidently very lonely, having befriended an indigenous sand beast for company. However, when Ian and the Doctor reach the ship, tempers are fraught because Barbara mistook the sand beast for a threat and killed it. Dun dun dun. The Doctor enters Bennett's room and finds things are not as they seem. The supposed crippled Bennett is missing, and a tape recorder hides his absence. He finds a trapdoor in the floor of the cabin and follows it to a temple carved from rock and masked Cuquilian as Bennett. Bennett reveals he killed a crew member on board the ship and was arrested, but the ship crashed before the crime could be radioed to Earth. It was he who killed the crash survivors and the natives of Dido to cover his crime. He's been using the Cuquilian alias so that Vicki would back up his story and had hoped the planet would be destroyed when his version of events was given. Just as Bennett is about to kill the Doctor, two surviving native Didodians arrive and force Bennett to his death over a ledge. They then stop the signal to prevent the rescue ship from reaching the planet. With no living family and nothing left for her in Dido, Vicki is welcome aboard the TARDIS. Wow. Pretty dark, don't you think? Alright. Well, now that we get the plot away, let's get into the production elements of the episode, shall we? Okay. The rescue was written as a short vehicle to introduce Vicki as a new companion, replacing Caroline Ford, who played Susan. Well, Ford decided she wanted to lead the series, and is thus more character-driven than anything that had preceded it. Vicki was a replacement for the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan, who was the first companion to leave Doctor Who. Ford was displeased with the lack of her character's development. In contrast to Susan, Vicki is an Earth orphan from the future. The production considered many names from here, some odd like Lukey and Tanny. Doctor Who creator Sidney Newman told actress Maureen O'Brien that they were considering having her cut her hair and dye it black. O'Brien refused, saying, "Why did you just get Caroline Ford back?" Good point. Very good point. The Rescue is the first story under Dennis Spooner as script editor, though he is not listed in the credits because he had little to do since much of the job was given to his predecessor, David Whittaker, and thus he is not credited. The story was commissioned on the 1st of November 1964, the day after his contract with the BBC for his position as script editor had expired. The scripts were due on November 10th. In Whittaker's original draft, entitled Doctor and Tanny, after one of Vicki's original names, there are a few differences from the broadcast version. Bennett was more unkind to Vicki. Notably, Cuquilian had a torch device, which used to paralyze Ian upon meeting and interrogating him and Barbara in the first episode. He hypnotized Ian and Barbara and tried to get them to encourage the Doctor to come out of the TARDIS, but the Doctor could see this on the TARDIS scanner and demands that the teachers be released. In a scuffle, Ian's strength was broken when he was shoved against the TARDIS, and Barbara's was broken when she was thrown to the ground. The beginning of the first episode also had Ian confide to Barbara that he was afraid of a time where the Doctor would close the TARDIS on them and leave like he did with Susan, to which the Doctor, overhearing, replied that there would be warning if they were to part. While Brian had just gone to drama school when she was cast as Vicki, it was her first television acting job. Director Christopher Barry originally wanted Bernard Archer for the role of Burnett/Coquillian, but was not able to get him. Barry later cast Archer in The Power of the Daleks. The role went to Australian actor Ray Barrett, whom Barry had seen on TV and marked in his book of actors he wanted to remember, and so he dug him out of the book when the time came. Barrett played Bennett as a normal, straight human being, so as to not give the ending away. To preserve the mystery, Coquillian was created in the first episode as being played by Sidney Wilson, a name made up by the production team in tribute to the two creators of Doctor Who, Sidney Newman and Donald Wilson. This was the first instance of an alias being used in the credits in order to conceal a plot twist in Doctor Who. The practice was later being employed on to conceal the appearance of villains Davros and the Master. Tom Sheridan provided the voice of the space captain and also played the Sand Beast. He was originally scheduled to play one of the Didonians at the end, but for unknown reasons, they were played by two uncredited extras, Jon Stewart and Colin Hughes. The Rescue was the first in a new production block of Doctor Who. The first production block lasted for 52 weeks, with one episode filmed per week, though the final two stories, Planet of Giants and The Dog Invasion of Earth, were held back and the first season ended early. As such, there was a 6-week break for the regular cast before work on The Rescue began. The Rescue used the same production team as the following story, The Romans, and the two were combined to form a single 6-episode production block. Model filming took place in Ealing Studios on the 16th of November 1965. The models were made by an outside model maker called Shawcraft. As they were not designers, Doctor Who designer Raymond Cusick drew what he wanted the spacecraft to look like in more detail than he normally would have. He drew the spacecraft in flight as well as erect so they could visualize it from the two. Cusick had found a cheap material he called reeded hardboard, which is spray painted silver and used for the outside of the craft prop. The design Coquillian was based on a close-up of a fly. Rehearsals for the first episode took place from the 30th of November 1964 to December 3rd, with the episode recorded on December 4th. Ford visited during rehearsals to meet O'Brien and wish her luck. Rehearsals for the second episode took place from the 7th to the 10th of December 1964, with the episode recorded on the 11th of December. Recording of the first episode overran his schedule by 15 minutes. The Dido Temple was a large set that was lit in such a way to create a dark atmosphere. Dark drapes and smoke were also used. When shooting Vicky's Sand Beast, Jacqueline Hill underestimated the gun's power and fired too soon. She was not seriously injured, though suffered a shock and a sore face because it blew back in her face. The sound the Sand Beast makes while dying was modeled after the horrible noise a dying Dalek made in the Daleks. To save money, the scores were used from the Daleks, which Barry had partially directed. He selected pieces from episodes 1 and 4 through 7 of that serial. So, that's The Rescue. Now, do I recommend this episode to modern Doctor Who fans? No. The reason being is because I think that fans of New Who should watch some of the earlier episodes of Classic Who, particularly episodes featuring the Doctors, Susan, Ian, and Barbara. So that way, when they watch this episode, they'll be more inclined to give their opinions about Vicki and so on and so forth. So, there you go. So, those are my thoughts on The Rescue. If you've actually seen this episode, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And, quite personally, I would give this episode a score of 5 sonic screwdrivers out of 5. So, until next time when we talk about the Romans in The Romans, this is Huey Queen saying, "Oh my giddy aunt, when I say run, run, I reverse polarity and I reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. Would you like a chili, baby? Fantastic. Allons-y, Geronimo! Bow ties are cool, vests are cool, and Stetsons are cool."